Larry, I spent a large chunk of my life trying to figure out really difficult questions to ask my students. And it's called the case method. And one of the tricks of doing this is you figure out what somebody really believes, and then you try to ask them the exact opposite thing. And so I want to try this on you today. You're probably going to hit it out of the ballpark, but let me try some of this. And I know it's late at night, but...
It's only 4 in the morning for me. So.
It's early in the morning, so...
I'm just getting warm.
The best book that's ever been written about Australian history is called The Tyranny of Distance. And what it does is it gives you a history of the reduction of the real distance between Australia and the rest of the world. And it records the impact on Australia of the succession of dramatic reductions of the actual distance of Australia and Tasmania, particularly of Tasmania, from the rest of the world. The integration of the world through improved sailing, steam, oil transport, oil-fired shipping transport, aircraft, telecommunications. And of course, what we face is another big drop in the tyranny of distance. What's interesting about what happened is that Australia became more exposed to competition. When this continent was first settled by Europeans, the only things you could import were very, very expensive. So it was only worth importing very high value items. With the improvement of transport, you could import lots of stuff. So the impact on the Australian society was that it narrowed. It narrowed. It was possible to import a lot of what we used to produce at home, and we only exported a few items that we had a really strong inbuilt advantage in. As I listened to you showing us how much better communications will be, I'm struck that our surgeons will be exposed to competition from the best surgeons in the world. Our teachers will be exposed to the best lecturers, competition from the best lecturers in the world. Our retailers will be exposed to the best retailers in the world. Some of our businesses and industries are well equipped, but a lot are not. What's your thoughts on that problem?
Compete, improve, or die. And it all starts with education. Tasmania in particular is faced with a real challenge in that regard. You know, you're an extractive economy in Australia still, to a large extent. Your economy is mining and I love your wine, sheep, etc. In cyberspace, it's the extracting of new ideas out of people's minds that matters. That's where value is added in the economy. And education is at the base of innovation. So the more that you invest in your education, the more your culture teaches your children that learning is important and competition is a way of life. Then the more you do that, the more your economy will prosper. The less you do that, the more your economy will slide relative to people who make a different choice. And there's nothing much to be done about this. So I was heartened that Premier Bartlett has made this a major theme of his, certainly of the Red government. It's a major theme. But to go from theme to the hard work it takes to really get educated is a test of the character of the people. And that you're up for the test, I guess.
I'm not sure I have as much faith in education as you do, even though I've devoted my entire life to education. I lived for 20 years in New England, and I take most of my weekends in New Hampshire. And interesting thing, I like hiking. You go hiking in the woods in New Hampshire, and you're walking in a forest, and periodically you'll come upon a stone wall in the middle of the forest. And you think, what on earth is this doing here? Well, what it is a wall of a farm that used to exist there before they built the railway to Chicago.
Right.
And at that time, New Hampshire depopulated.
Mm-hmm.
All the farms failed because it was possible to supply the metropolitan areas of New York, Boston, with food from the Midwest, which had such strong inbuilt structural advantages that no amount of education in the New Hampshire farmers could save them.
Right, at farming.
At farming. But what happened was New Hampshire depopulated. Mm-hmm. And it's taken them 200 years to rebuild an economy. They've never got back to where they were.
Right.
I guess that for us, and it's putting you on the spot to ask you this, but I think for us Tasmanians who are committed to our New Hampshire and don't want to see it suffer that kind of fate. Now, there are some people who, with the railroads revolution in New Hampshire, they prospered from it, but
Absolutely.
A lot did not. Burlington has now. Mm-hmm. The question for us is, what can we do to prepare beyond more than just education? I'm with you actually on education, right. but I deeply feel there has to be a lot more we can do to get ourselves ready for the opportunities and the challenges that will come.
Well, I'd say the most important thing is to get out of denial. I mean, you have been given the chance by your government to be the very first people in Australia to deploy this new technology. It ought to be clear that the reason the government is putting the largest amount of money in the history of your country in a public infrastructure project into this, that they expect it to change, disrupt every aspect of your society or economy. So be forewarned and think about it and do something about it instead of waiting like the people in New Hampshire until it's too late. And then there is no hope. But you still have hope. And you have a window of opportunity that's been given to you in a way that Tasmania normally isn't given this kind of leadership opportunity for the country. And this is going to go fast. I mean, that's why I'm showing you these pictures. These numbers, 130 million homes, 8 million in all of Australia. The train is leaving the station, and fast. So, you know, everybody has a difficulty with change. And the first thing you do is say, NBN, fiber, you know, that's just tech stuff. That's not going to change anything. That's what they said about the railroads.
They'll never replace the New Hampshire farm.
Exactly. So staying in denial, more or less, in the presence of rapid technological change guarantees collapse of your economy. On the other hand, you know it's coming, and you have more years than anybody else to get out in front of it because you're the first mover in this case. And so I would say pay attention to this and skate to where the puck's going to be. Be part of this revolution in your own businesses, in your own schools. That's your only real chance.